So warm welcome. Lovely to see some familiar names and some new names in the group listening in. Really warm welcome to the session today. So I'll introduce Karyn shortly, but as always, just to start with just some housekeeping for the session. So as you've heard, the session's being recorded. So the session will appear on our YouTube channel later this week, so you'll be able to access it there if you'd like to watch it again. Would always encourage people to close off any other applications, as that sometimes impacts the transmission speed. And as you'll be aware, your cameras are off, and actually we can't hear you either. So we're going to be sort of communicating with the chat panel today. So please do feel free to add any questions that are arising for you in the chat panel as we're going through the session. And the final piece of housekeeping really was just say to have a notepad and pen handy for the session today. So if you haven't got one, you might want to dash now and grab it, just so you can make sure that you can fully join in with the exercises that we're going to do. So it's a great pleasure to welcome back Karyn Prentice to the session this afternoon. For some of you who've accessed the YouTube channel before, you may have seen the other sessions that Karyn's ran for us around the 5 seasons, and also creative methods in coaching as well, which is a very popular session on YouTube. And for those who've been on our courses, you may recognize Karyn from our advanced diploma course, where she's one of our core faculty. And apart from working with us, Karyn also leads the programs for the Coaching Supervision Academy in the UK, US, and France as well. So Karyn, what else would you like to say about your practice, or you, just as a way of starting?
Well, just a big hello to people calling in from lots of different places. And I think I really just want to underscore, certainly over the years, and even more so in the last 2 years, the freedom and joy that creative writing can bring to enhance who we are as people, and to invite others into dipping into their own treasure chest in small, short segments to bring so much riches up is just exciting. Never ceases to be exciting. And I'm glad everybody's here interested in the subject.
Thanks, Karyn. Thank you. And so session today, I mean, Karyn will talk a bit more about the reflective writing that we're going to be invited to practice today. But in terms of the conversation around creative writing in coaching, at the start of the session, there's always an opportunity to just pause and see what questions are there for the group. So again, please feel free to add any questions that you're holding around creative writing and coaching into the chat panel. And if you click on everyone, it just means that everyone can see the questions that are coming through. And then Karyn and I can also just see what questions are really sort of sparking interest for this session as well. So I'm just going to pause for a moment just to allow those to come on through. And Karyn, while we're waiting for those, maybe in terms of your own practice, and I appreciate, previously we spoke about creative methods, but just anything you want to share, just in terms of your own practice and really bringing in creative writing as part of that.
Yeah, I'd like to share where it particularly got even more underscored since we began in the pandemic in 2020. My colleague Elaine Prentice and I have been journalers all our lives. I still have some that I can pull out from many decades ago. And so the desire to connect a little bit of understanding about me and paper has always been part of my own personal DNA. I work things out on paper. But what I particularly noticed in the research I've done about bringing this into my practice when I was a psychotherapist for 25 years, as well as a coach and a supervisor, is that First of all, people often are a little reluctant to face a big blank page and they feel they have to fill it in, or a whole brand new gorgeous journal and go, oh gosh, and it has to be perfect before I can put anything in there. Is that messiness is a really good part of just letting yourself play, but also that less is more. So regular but small time attended to a journal can make all the difference and can open up just so much. And I particularly found this, or Elaine and I particularly found this at the beginning of the pandemic. We were working with a lot of coaches who were serving greater humanitarian organizations who were supporting people in the field during certainly the first lockdown. And so we offered something through Coaching Supervision Academy under our moniker, The Right Place, 3 times a week. We met with people 7 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon to cover all the time zones of the 80 people that were with us. And we had a half an hour where we did some mindful grounding. We read a poem that prompted a 7-minute piece of writing, and then a second piece of writing. There was no input from the group, but people turned up. And what we found after 8 weeks of doing this was the profound offers they sent back of poetry, painting, depth, problem solving, unearthing stuff. It was humbling and extraordinary, inspirational to see what in a half an hour of 2 small segments of 7 minutes of writing did. And from there, we've used that in a number of other ways with The Right Place, underpinning that we are creative human beings. We are innately creative. And this is one way we can, for ourselves and with others, tap into this.
Thank you, Karyn. I can see there's a few questions now coming through just in terms of using this with clients, but why don't I just pass over to you to start with perhaps something practical or experiential that we could do?
And I think maybe in there may be some of the answers, because I've just noticed a really great question from Jennifer. What is creative writing and how do we use it to benefit clients? And we're going to do a little something here, because I believe if we do something for ourselves and have an experience, it can be helpful when we're perhaps wanting to use an approach that is not necessarily our own because we do it a lot ourselves, but we can see the benefits. So that bridge between, oh, I don't know if I'm competent to offer an exercise and I'm not even sure that I use a lot. So this is a chance to try it out, first of all. And as I was saying to you, I like to call this with clients a reflective practice, because some people go, oh, I'm not creative. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this right correctly. We have an inner editor that goes berserk. So, but I also find a lot of coachees that are leaders often say, I really need to be more reflective. I really need to slow down sometime and tap in, but oh, I don't have the time and I go have a half an hour to write. So by calling it reflective writing, it helps somebody develop another skill to deep dive, to go beyond the immediate question to what the question is below the question. And I think this is really important. Creativity is really anything and everything. In other words, how we choose what we put on in the morning, how we choose what to eat. And by doing writing, we allow ourselves just to go somewhere else besides our logical thinking, to go somewhere else. And by that, I mean, I imagine us as human beings being like a house. And for many of our clients, and perhaps some of the people on this call, and I know I can identify this for me, it's as if we live in the attic of the house only, and we don't visit all the rooms, including the basement or the garden, to see what else we can know about something. So this is a methodology that allows us to visit the other rooms in who we are and how we know stuff. What's good about it is it's very portable. You don't need a lot of extra equipment. It works virtually, it works face-to-face. It works for both coach and coachee to be doing this together. And I thought what I've seen Rob's question, other rooms, what would it be like, archetypes? Well, Rob, that could be. What I'm thinking is, if this is our thinking, Do we go to the place of emotions and heart? Do we go to the room called my intuitions? Do we go to the room, which for me is right in the middle of my body? What does my body tell me about what I know here? And all these have their own voices that if we just listen quietly for a little while, we might get some more information there. So I thought before we talk about this, that we'd start with something, that we just have a little bit of an experiment here. It's only going to take maybe 1.5 minutes to do, and we'll come back to its value later on in this half an hour. So what I'd like to do, if you have some paper handy, if you have Post-its, a Post-it, so you could have a Post-it, that would be fine. The point here is something small. I really like luggage tags. Or if you've got gift tags, here's some Christmas ones like stars. Some people don't like stars. I've got some really pretty little hearts here, but all you need is something this big. And if you've only got an A4 sheet, then fold it in half and fold it again and fold it again until you've got something about this size, okay? And so what we're going to do in a minute, I'm going to ask you a question and I'm going to give you just a minute to kind of see what arises. So notice if you are someone who does live in the attic of your house, in the loft, thinking, oh gosh, what should I write? Will it be the right word? And if it isn't the right word, I'm going to pick the right word and we're going to have some with the word. And you know the kind of chatter that we can have. I'm going to invite you to go close your eyes, take a big deep breath and just see what the room called intuition throws up for you. Okay, so pen, pencil, your Post-it, your luggage tag. So here's the question. Hope everybody's ready. There are 47 people, hopefully with pen poised. It's spring now, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. If you're calling in from somewhere else, then if you're in autumn, probably if you're in another hemisphere. I'd like you to take a moment to think of a quality that you would like to seed and see grow in you that would help your coaching practice, help you as a coach be even more proficient, more effective, feel more at home in your practice. And think about what that quality would be that you'd like to have. And write it on the front of the Post-it note or the piece of paper. We're going to use the back of it as well. So you want one blank piece of paper or card. So just going to take a minute now to think of a quality you would like to seed and grow over the spring into the summer to support you in your coaching practice. Just another 10 seconds to just grab something. Even if you think, oh, I don't know where that came from. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so we got that quality there. We're going to come back to that word and do something else with that in a moment. My experience in using writing techniques with people is that less is more. We don't have to ask somebody to write for even 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes. All of those can produce something amazing. And the more I've done this, the more I realize the shorter the period, the less the anxiety of the person that they're going to have to keep on writing. So it is always an invitation to someone. And so you might even think as part of your coaching contract and say, can we use some creative methodology if it feels right at the moment and something arises where we'd like to see where else this could go? So then you have some permission if maybe not even in that session, but a session later, something arises and in the moment where you are truly present with your client, you might say, shall we try something? Shall we capture this in a different way? Some people naturally are reflective and go, oh, yes, please. And some will find this new to do. And seniority has absolutely nothing to do with the comfort one has with picking up a pen and writing. And so this is a kinesthetic activity as opposed to a typing one on a computer. One of the beauties of something this size is it isn't so scary because to fill it up if you write big won't take very long. And I've just asked you to put one word at the front for the moment. So what we're trying to do with this, particularly when you're introducing it to a client, is not make it onerous, not make it long, and not make it such a challenge that it takes them away from that little nugget of moment where you and the client are going, ooh, something's arriving here. You're getting that shift. Something you know is kind of bubbling up, and you're inviting them. Shall we capture that? We just take 2 minutes to see what else there may be if we write together. And I just said write together. Could be they write on their own. But if you're sitting in front of somebody and you've asked it face to face and you're asking to write, one of the things they're thinking often is, can they see what I'm writing? Can they read upside down? So one thing you can do is either move a little bit farther back, or you also write what's been happening for you in this session. And you can choose either to contract to share something, because it may be that some of you have noticed, I know that I do, a client coachee sometimes can see what they don't do right, see what they're missing, see what's lacking. But sometimes they can't see what's already noble, shiny, and brilliant in what they are and what they do. And that's an opportunity for you to be able to notice when they're brave, notice when they take courage, notice when you're feeding back something you've heard them say and the impact on you. So you're using yourself as an instrument here. And it gives them a chance to anchor on that bit of card something that's important for them. And if they say, no, I don't want to write, well, that's fine. You move on. So it's not being too attached to this process. This is just an invitation to let's see what's emergent. So it's really allowing space for resonance, emergence, and integration, which I think are 3 things that come into the way we work. And I generally use 3 writing principles, and there are 3 here, rules. One is when your pen hits the paper, you keep writing and don't lift it until you hear me say, okay, we're going to stop now. And so I might say, we're going to write for 3 minutes, and I'll let you know when there are 30 seconds left. So pen on paper, don't stop writing. Number 2, write as fast as you can. Reason for this is we're going to try and outrun our inner critic that's going, oh, I don't know what to say, and I don't know what to write. So if they don't know what to write, they write, I don't know what to write. I still don't know what to write. Oh, something's arriving. I do know what to write. And the 3rd rule is don't edit. Don't stop to check what you're writing. You're really allowing a flow here. So I'm going to take those 3 rules I've just offered you, put your pen on the paper, don't stop till I say stop, don't edit, and write as fast as you can for us to do our second exercise, right here and right now. So take your Post-it note, and wherever you've written your quality, on the back of it is what we're going to use to write now, just for 2 minutes, that's all. And so the question I'm asking you now is, if you've picked out your quality, if you had 10% more of this quality that you just wrote on the card in your practice right now today, how would you know that you had this? What would be the impact of 10% more of this quality that you would like to have? And I'm going to give you 3 minutes right now to start writing as fast as you can without editing, and start writing whatever's coming in your mind, don't matter what it is, and to start writing now. 10% more of this quality, how would you know? How would it impact on your practice? And I will say when there's 30 seconds to go. And you've got 30 seconds of writing time left. And so just finishing off. So if you just take a moment to look back over what you've just written and circle 2 words that stand out to you, almost as if those words say, circle me, circle me. Okay. So you now have 3 words that relate to your practice. And so therein lies a really interesting discussion, either for you to think about, well, how do these 3 words show up in my work now? Might I take this to supervision? So if every time you had a coaching session, you did a couple of minutes of writing and circled some words, they'd be some really interesting seeds for spring to think about your practice as a coach. With your client, if they write, and you may ask them, sometimes clients will say, I'd like to be more reflective, and part of your contracting could be, well, how about at the end of our coaching session, each time, let's see how it goes, we take the last 5 minutes to just capture what's been really pertinent, what's been really impactful in this coaching session for you, that you, coachee, want to remember until we meet again. And they write, and it anchors the goodies, it anchors what they want to take forward, it creates a relationship of themselves to their creativity on the page. And they can build that up. They can, if you do one of these, that's why I like travel ideas. It's a voyage. Coaching is a journey, it's a voyage. I had one client who brought all of these after 8 sessions and had put them on a tree to say, this is my journey. And these are the things I want to remember going forward well beyond our coaching time. So you can play around with these in so many ways. Another way is to get them to make a bookmarker. And they write the things that they promised to themselves between sessions on the bookmarker. And everybody can always use another bookmarker. So you can either use that in a writing way, in a drawing way. Damion said you've already had a talk on race and on trauma, and you're going to have another one of these on race. And those are wonderful places to bring writing pieces. A lot of work done by James Pennebaker on writing during trauma. 30 years of experience that said short pieces of writing can be hugely beneficial to well-being. So there are lots of ways you can play with this for yourself in your practice or for others. And obviously in a half an hour, we don't have time to look at all of those. I mean, if you're really interested in developing your whole plethora of creativity, then please get in touch, because we've got a EMCC diploma in creativity called Tapestry, and I can tell you more about that. But are there any questions that are really shining out to be answered in the last few minutes that we have? Damion, I have to turn to you for this.
Karyn, so there's one, I mean, some of them you already spoken to, but I can see one from Isabel. So what suggestions do you have for ways to use creative writing to get through blocks?
Right. Oh, there are lots of ways to do that. And one of the ways we've actually just done, just to set yourself a timer, I'm going to write free writing for 5 minutes, and I'm just going to go like the clappers to kind of unburden. And then from there, either, I mean, I hugely favor the circle 3 words that stand out. Then you take those 3 words, write for another 5 minutes, and you can do that 3 times. And then sit back and see what's emerging out of that. Because even if you write, I am really blocked, I am really blocked, eventually part of your brain goes, oh, and something happens. My experience is almost always something happens. Don't edit during those times. And somebody said, what's the 3rd principle? Write as fast as you can. Don't lift your pen until you've finished. Don't edit. Those are the 3 rules.
Thanks, Karyn. And how about any inspiration for good creative writing prompts. That comes from Ilana.
Well, that's interesting because one person's prompt is somebody else's not. So when you're a coach and you're listening to somebody, if they repeat a word a lot, there you've got a great prompt. If they say, I can't, or I'm not able, I am able would be a great prompt. So part of it here is the tuning into the client and the mood and the flavor and the desire, so that it allows that little nugget to say, you've mentioned freedom 3 times here. Let's see what happens. Can we do 3 minutes of writing and see what might arise? And you can use this in a drawing way. It doesn't have to be writing if that's a preferred. So the most potent word often you will hear in the session. If you prepare it too much ahead of time, it may not be the right word in the right moment. Resonance, emergence, and integration, Anna.
And then that question just come from Adrian in terms of perhaps some stimulus for writing prompts, example, video or images.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes on the screen, if I'm face-to-face, I'll bring cards. If it's on a screen, I might show a slide with 10 different pictures and say, pick one, let's start writing. Whatever people pick, this is something I've found always, whatever they pick, there will be a resonance, whatever they pick, because the rest of the house is just waiting for this to say, start writing now. That's all we need, is start writing now. Have a go. Take your 3 words you have now. When you hang up from this call, give yourself 5 minutes and write with them. See what happens. 5 minutes.
Thanks, Karyn. And just to add, really, one of the reasons why when Karyn and I are working with a group in our advanced program, we integrate creative writing, reflective writing in the training, is because there's so many coachees who will say things such as, I'd love to journal, I'd love to find the time for journaling, but actually the coach doing it with them in the session means that we're breaking down that sort of mindset that this takes time,
Yeah.
So it's helping them overcome that. So Tom's just asked any adaptations to working online or on the phone, Karyn.
Well, this is perfect for virtual work. I mean, when we did the 3 times a week for a half an hour across the globe, you don't have to see them. You can do this equally on the phone because it's their relationship to what they write on the paper. We're holding a space as a holder of the space and the intention behind the invitation. So you already have everything you need, whether you're on the phone, on the screen, or face-to-face. And sometimes it's easier because it's entirely private. They don't have to tell you what's written there. They can tell you about what the process was like and keep the writing private.
Thanks, Karyn. So we're sort of approaching time. I just want to say, really appreciate your generosity and the sharing that you've given to the group during this session. If anyone wants to get in contact with Karyn, you don't have her contact details, just get in contact with me and I'll pass you on to Karyn if you're interested in hearing more about Tapestry. Karyn mentioned our next webinar. I'm just going to bring that up on the screen just so you can see that. So that'll be on the 23rd of May with Sandra Goddard, who's one of our faculty members. It'll be on transactional analysis and coaching, another 30-minute session. And for those who haven't yet booked, we're sort of getting virtually sold out. So if you are intending on coming on our gathering, where Karyn and Elaine will actually be running a session around flourishing and writing. So please, do come along to that. But the tickets are running out. So please do sign up if you're intending on coming on the 30th. It'd be great to see you there as well.
Yeah, lovely.
So thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll bring the session to a close and hopefully see you on the next session with Sandra. Thanks again, Karyn.
Bye. Have a good week.